My 30th birthday was a normal day. I splurged on a cupcake for myself, and my father sent me a birthday message the day before. He always got the day mixed up. I worked my shift without any of my coworkers being aware of what day it was. Only when I arrived back home, ready for bed after a long shift, the embarrassing thought dawned on me. I was 30, and I was still a virgin. In my teen years, I was an emotional wreck after losing my mother. Just getting out of bed was an achievement back then, let alone talking to girls trying to hook up. After moving out and getting 2 jobs to survive, I went from crappy job to crappy job, just trying to get by. Dating wasn't even a consideration. I wonder if I was just the type of person alright being alone. If I had a good job and the security to spend time looking for someone, I might find I was alright by myself. That night, with a few hours of my birthday remaining, I wasn't thinking of that idea. I was only thinking about how people would judge me if they found out my sorry state of a dating career. I was getting older. If I kept putting off trying to find the right time to find someone that might never happen, I would die with no one at my funeral. I decided then I would sign up for some online dating sites and see what happens. I might find someone, I might not. I wanted to at least be rid of the black mark on my character that was my V card, even if I had no clue how to go about it. The next 2 weeks I was signing up for a few dating sites and apps to get no responses. I was not a catch, so I wasn't expecting much. I'm a little shorter than average. I have a common-looking face and not much going on job-wise. I didn't have much to offer in a relationship, and if the girls wanted to quickly hook up, they literally had thousands of other guys to choose from. I was in shock that after 2 weeks, I received a notification from a girl I'd matched with. She was cute and way out of my league. At first, I thought she was a bot. However, her profile checked out. She was real, and for some unfathomable reason, talking to me. I still wondered what the catch was. I agreed to meet up for a coffee on the next Friday night to see where things would head. If she was using a very flattering angle or outdated photos, I would still see her. She was very nice and easy to talk with. Being pretty was just a bonus. I've gone on dates before. I barely considered them dates though. Some coffee with a female friend, or some hangouts with them. It never went anywhere. Having a real first meetup with a girl made me extremely nervous. Before meeting, I'd let slip some of my flaws and lack of experience, but somehow, she still wanted to meet. If she found me too underwhelming after coffee, there would be no hard feelings. She showed up on time, saw me at the table, and gave a big smile and a wave. She was tall, thin, and had the cutest shade of red hair and perfect teeth. Yet again, I wondered why a girl like that had ever agreed to see me. The moment she sat down, the awkward tension I'd expected wasn't there. Looking back on our date, I realized we'd talk like old friends. I never expected this to go beyond a date, so there was no hinting or flirting. Just 2 people having a very nice chat over coffee. That friendly atmosphere must have been the thing that got me an invite to go out for some dinner after. I was free and agreed. It wasn't anything special. We bought some fast food and brought it to a park to sit and eat while the sun set. I sensed that Vicky enjoyed spending time with someone who wasn't trying to take her home. I guess I'm old-fashioned and thought that sort of thing should be hinted at when you got to know each other a little bit more. Heaven forbid someone even make a suggestion of such things on a first date. After we finished eating, I realized after talking to her for at least 2 hours, I didn't really know much about her. She seemed a little bit pressured in her job, stating she wasn't suited for anything else but never told me what that job was. The sun set while we ate. I didn't want her alone in the dark, so I offered to walk her to her car, or to the bus stop if she took one to get to the coffee shop. Standing under a park light, she shuffled her feet looking like she was trying to debate something.
Can you just walk me home? I can cut through the park, but it's pretty scary at night.
Vicky asked, head down looking shy. Oh, yeah, of course. I took a risk and offered my hand. She gladly took it. The park was fairly large, the path cut through dense woods. Once you got off the trail, you could get lost easily and could walk for hours without getting out and back into town. It was also a popular place for homeless people to set up small living areas. As clean and maintained the trails are, it wasn't a good idea for a single lady to go walking along them at night. Once I got on the other side, and she was home safe, I could spend a little bit of money getting a cab back home. The coffee shop we met in was within walking distance of my place. I honestly didn't want to walk through the park alone and hope we didn't run into anyone wanting trouble. Vicky was a few inches taller than me, and if a fight came up, I think she would have a better advantage in one over myself. Due to my lack of experience, I didn't think she was asking me to walk her home to keep the night going longer and possibly invite me in once we arrived to her place. I'm glad I didn't assume that. I would be very disappointed. On our walk, my phone pinged. It was another text from my father asking to borrow money. He always paid me back, but had a hard time paying bills at the start of the month.
It's nice of you to help out. I bet your mother doesn't appreciate being so low on funds at the start of every month, though.
Vicky commented after I explained what the text was about. My mother isn't around, it's just me and him. I told her, feeling a bit bad, bringing down the mood of the walk.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you're pretty alone, huh?
It was a bit of an odd question, but I didn't even notice. I wondered if I clued into things sooner, I could have avoided a bad situation.
Hey, so let's say I invited you to stay over. Would you?
We were only halfway along the trail when she spoke up again. Vicky's question made my face flush in the darkness of the trail. I tripped over my own feet and desperately tried to think of the right answer. I don't have any kind of experience with that kind of thing. I don't think I could bring myself to take you up on that offer, even though I do like you. I answered honestly, most likely not the answer a girl wanted to hear. After a few seconds, Vicky let go of my hand to walk in front of me and face me. I stopped walking to let her take a couple steps ahead. I knew I was getting dumped.
You're cute. I never get to go out with guys like you, but I don't think your type is going to do well on an app that's made for people to just hook up on.
She told me with a kind smile on her face. I guess I was stupid and assumed a dating app was just for dating and not to find who else is ready to get freaky with. It was a little disappointing, but I would recover from this. Vicky was a nice, cute girl. However, if I wasn't what she was looking for, I needed to accept it. This first date was some experience, though. Maybe the next girl I go out with, I might not be as nervous when the same question comes up. Let me at least walk you out of the park safely, I offered her.
Oh, you don't need to worry about me. You should really be worried about yourself right now.
I looked at her, confused. The sudden idea of her planning this and having some guys to jump me came to mind. I only had my phone on me and $50 in my bank account if they got my bank card. I wouldn't lose much, and saying I got robbed on a first date would be a great story. Hoping I wasn't about to get a beatdown, I looked around trying to see if there was anyone hiding in the bushes along the trail. Alright, should I just give you my wallet right now, or... I asked, not seeing anyone in hiding.
Toby, I like you. I'll offer you a deal. If you can run from me until sunrise, I'll let you live.
What kind of weird joke was this? During our date, she hadn't acted weird or quirky. This sudden shift made me so confused on what was going on. I was alright with jokes, but I wished, if this was one, she would have waited until we gotten out of the park. Vicky wasn't carrying a purse. Her jean pockets could barely fit her phone and some spare change for the coffee if I didn't pay for it. If there weren't any guys waiting to jump me, I didn't think she had anywhere to hide a weapon. I opened my mouth to ask her what she was thinking and please not kid around so we can get her back home when she did something that just made my entire body freeze. In a blink of an eye, Vicky was standing in front of me. Then a towering monster took her place. Its fur was the same shade of her orange-reddish hair. The face had slanted fox-like eyes and countless sharp teeth ready to rip into me. The beast looked almost like a fox, but a fox mixed with a female bodybuilder. When the large hand with sharp claws started to reach towards me, I did the thing any sane person would facing that beast down. I ran screaming into the woods. My mind was blank from terror. I just ran. Branches snapped at my face, cutting and tearing at my clothes. My action should have cost me my life. Instead of turning around to run along the path, I ran into the trees, getting lost in the dark, leaving a perfect trail for Vicky to follow me. There is a chance that if I stayed on the trail and in the open, she could easily catch me. I just ran, repeating what the hell through my head until I tipped on a root, landing painfully on the ground. I scrambled to get up, legs on fire and lungs heavy. I snapped out of my panic to frantically pull out my phone. I tried calling 911 only to have the call not even connect. I went down my list of contacts trying anyone with no luck. I then tried texting my father. The message just sat loading, refusing to send. My phone was useless. Still, just in case the text went through after I was killed that night, I sent a message to my father telling him I loved him, and oddly enough, one to Vicky. She'd given me her phone number, so I sent her a message telling her I enjoyed our date. Alright, so what if she was a monster that just set me up to be eaten and this text may never send? I didn't want any regrets in the end. It was a nice date until the whole monster thing. I didn't have a chance to thank her yet for meeting a guy like me, even if the plan was to kill me the entire time. I put my phone away, trying to keep moving in the woods, trying to figure out where the hell I was. The moon was nearly full, giving me enough light to see by. I was still lost with no hope of getting out of the woods. Vicky might think I would go back to the path, so even if I could find it, it wasn't an option. I just walked along, sprinting in short bursts, hiding behind trees, trying to cover more ground. After a while, the false hope started. No sounds came from the trees, making me think I somehow got away from her. Right when I thought I might make it, I heard a booming, crackling laugh that sounded as if it was surrounding me. A laugh a hyena would be jealous of. I darted around, sweat drenching my back. She could be close by. In the dim light, I saw a small burrow large enough for me to fit inside. Without a second thought of what kind of animal could be inside, I squeezed myself into the tight space to buy myself more time. I checked my phone again to quickly see none of the messages sent yet, and it still refused to connect. I stayed in that little tunnel, breathing in the scent of dirt with roots jabbing into my back. Again, a hint of hope came.
Playing hide and seek, are we?
Vicky's voice came, sounding so close and distorted, being spoken through her dangerous mouth. I forced another yelp of fear down. I curled up, looking outside, trying to see anything from the small opening. If she found me, it would all be over. I couldn't go further in. She could just grab me to drag me to my death.
I'll count to 10, then I'll start looking.
My heart threatened to beat out of my chest. I couldn't give in to the fear. I needed to stay calm and think. As she counted down closer to 10, I lost more of my control. There were no options for me. She was bigger, stronger, and hungry. If I ran, she would catch up with me. If I stayed, she would drag me out kicking and screaming. Suddenly, I wondered how she hadn't caught me yet. What's the point of the countdown if she knew where I was? Vicky was playing with me. Holding on to that fact, I felt like if I could just keep out of her grasp for a little bit longer and let her play this game, then maybe I might think of a plan later. Right now, I needed to run.
9, 10.
The moment she shouted out 10, I darted out from my little hole and tossed a rock as far as I could. By some miracle, I saw her shape darting through the woods towards where she heard the rock fall. Vicky had known the vague area I was in, so ran toward the sound of the rock bouncing off a tree. I gave it a second before darting off as quietly as possible away from where she was running. I heard her turn around, so I picked up another rock to throw it, hoping to fool her a second time to possibly give me time to run. I don't know if it worked or if she was letting me get away. Hours passed as I ran aimlessly through the trees. I'd lost a shoe at some point, my clothing completely covered in dirt and face scratched up from the branches. Sunrise was still too many hours away. I sensed Vicky and was nearly done with our game. If she got close to me again, she may put an end to everything. In my exhaustion, I didn't realize I had stumbled out of the woods and onto the brick path of the park for a few seconds. I gasped, feeling exposed in the open, and darted back behind a tree. Things suddenly were looking up for me. I knew where I was, only a 5-minute walk to the park entrance, and a few more minute walk away from an all-night fast food place. The same place we gotten dinner from hours before. I debated on what to do. She might know I would try for the easy escape. She could be waiting at the park entrance for me. Let's just say it wasn't a trap and I somehow did get to the fast food joint. What if she found me and killed the person who could help me? Was I alright getting someone else involved? What else could I do? It was the only plan I could think of. I was likely going to die anyway. Might as well attempt to get some help. Creeping along, I stayed behind as many trees as possible while still keeping an eye on the trail. So close. 4 more minutes. 3 more minutes. 2 more. I stood, looking around when I hit the edge of the woods. The park entrance stood open and empty. I needed to be ready to run. This would be my final mad dash, and I needed all the strength I could get. A warm breeze blew, ruffling my hair on my neck. Too warm, and just on my back without the leaves of the trees surrounding me moving. My entire stomach felt like it dropped to my feet. I turned my head to be face to face with a set of slanted, gleaming eyes. Vicky somehow silently crept up behind me. How she moved that massive body without a sound was beyond my knowledge. Again, I wasn't thinking. I just screamed again, nearly pissing myself, and bolted. She opened her mouth to snap down on me, only catching my jacket, ripping a piece off. I flew towards the park entrance, the hot breath on my heels. Her crackling laugh made my adrenaline move my legs faster than they ever moved in my life. I had no plan beyond getting out of the park. For some reason, I thought if I could just run through the stone archway, I would be safe, and the monster of a date would just disappear. I almost made it. Just as I got through the arc, I collided with someone. My ankle twisted painfully as I slammed onto the ground, skidding to a stop on the hard pavement. I tried to stand back up, but the sharp pain in my ankle kept me to the ground. My body was out of oxygen and needed to rest. Dizzy from fright, my eyes went over trying to see where Vicky was. The person I'd run into was short with a black hoodie on. The hood covered their features. I knocked them down in my haste. There was no time to warn them as Vicky's snout poked out from the entrance, sniffing the air. I needed to do something. If I didn't, that person, perhaps a teen, would be eaten. Mind you, if she was busy with them, then I may have a chance to get away. I felt sick even considering that option. Unable to move from the stressful night, my body made the choice. She looked down at that person, drool starting to pool in her mouth. She looked in glee over her surprise snack. Bending over, she opened her mouth to snap her frightening jaws around the boy. But the child spoke, and it made her sharply pull back, shocked.
Oh, hello, Vicky. What's going on?
The boy asked, standing up, brushing himself off. They knew each other? What the hell was going on?
My king, what are you doing here? Oh, that dirty human knocked you over. I am so sorry for not eating him sooner.
No, really, what the hell was going on? For a brief moment, I thought this kid could help me. That hope quickly got crushed.
Don't worry about it. I was in the area for something else. I have these gummy candies I know you like, and I figured I would drop by and see you. Go ahead and finish up with your date. We can catch up after.
I should have run into this brat harder. How dare this short, soft-spoken boy sign my death warrant? I got up, trying to hobble away. My ankle screamed in pain as I slowly took a few steps from those two. Vicky closed the gap between us in 2 long strides. Once again, her mouth opened wide, ready to bite me in half. I smelled her musty breath while staring down at the hundreds of razor-sharp teeth. This simply wasn't fair. I can't believe I'm going to die a virgin. If I was going to have some last words, it may as well be the regret of what got me in this situation. I wonder how many other people got into bad situations because they were so desperate not to be judged by society for something that literally doesn't matter. I couldn't be the only one. Personally, I didn't care. I just didn't want to hear the mocking from people when they discover I never dated.
What did he say?
Vicky froze when the boy spoke, her mouth still open, ready to snap. I collapsed on the ground, staring up at her. For some strange reason, she looked scared.
Oh, I guess I made a mistake with this date. No harm done. Let's just send him on his way.
Vicky sounded nervous. She took a few steps away from him, large clawed hands in front of her fidgeting.
Did she really not know this fact until this moment?
The boy asked. Dark Hood turned to address me. Well, I made it pretty clear without using that word yet, but my mouth was suddenly dry. How many times could my brain fail me and hopes get raised only to be shot down?
Vicky, did you really not know?
He asked, slowly looking at her.
I swear, just a mistake.
She replied, hands raised with a desperate voice. The boy walked over to me and took his hood off. White, wavy hair spilled out. Aside from his red eyes, he looked like a normal kid, and not something a beast like Vicky would be so scared of.
Do you have a phone?
He asked me. At this point, how would giving him my phone hurt? I took it out from my pocket, handing it to him with a tremble. Vicky let out a screech of fear. On her powerful animal legs, she bolted, getting down the block in half a second. The boy held out my phone, screen directed toward her, fleeing.
"She's grounded,"
he commented in a bored tone. Vicky let out a horrible, twisted screech as a crackling light shot out from the screen, wrapping around her. Her massive frame was tangled in the light, then dragged back towards us. My jaw dropped when I saw her getting sucked into the screen, along with the strange light, while digging deep claw marks into the pavement trying to get me free. When she was finally entirely inside the phone, the boy flipped it in his hand once and shoved it into his hoodie pocket.
"What?"
I screamed, my voice rough and cracked. I had so many questions but could only get one word out.
"I guess I should tell you a little. Vicky, well, she lures in nasty men to eat them. It's against her rules to eat virgins. She targets the nastiest of guys you find online. Virgins taste really good to monsters like her, so she must have tried to eat you thinking she would get away with it."
He let out a long, suffering sigh. I wanted to keep him around for a bit longer to learn more. I was shaking my head from my ordeal, not really able to think, let alone talk. He noticed and shook his head a little.
"You could just hire a girl to hook up with to make you less appealing to monsters, but you also have a rare blood type that they really like too. A double whammy making you super tasty and appealing. Also, the thing is with supernatural creatures, once you survive one, you normally don't the next time."
The next time? Yeah, you most likely are going to be eaten by something in the future. Make peace with that. Vicky's just going to be sealed away for a few months, but once she gets out, she won't mess with you. Something else is... Oh, you need a new phone to replace this one. He took out my phone from his pocket, swiped the screen to snoop into my contacts.
"Toby, is it? I'll send you a new phone."
I felt my face flush more when I thought he would read my text than when I thought I was about to die. He paused, looking down at the text that didn't go through to Vicky. I wanted to snatch it out of his hands, yet didn't want to touch the phone.
"That's it? Can't you do anything else for me?"
I begged, tears threatening to take over.
"No, sorry, tough luck. I may be the king of the things in the dark, but I'm not going to stop them from rightfully having a meal."
My heart felt like breaking as he waved my pleas away and took a few steps from me. I stood on my twisted ankle, ready to chase after him when he stopped, turned, and looked at me.
"Well, actually, there is one thing. Do you want a job?"
Huh? Because of the miracle of knocking over that boy, I lived through the night. I learned his name was Ellie, and he was a huge deal in the world of monsters. I almost felt bad for knocking him over. Almost. The job he offered me was a mailman position. He told me I would most likely die in that job, but would last longer in a protected organization than on my own as a tasty snack ready to be eaten up. The job paid better than my current one, so what the hell, I might as well take it. As promised, a new phone arrived for me. It had all my contacts and information transferred over onto it, but the phone case was pink for some reason. I kept it on, fearing removing it would be an insult to the boy who arranged the phone for me. The uniforms and blank swipe card came next. While waiting for more information about my new job, I researched the hell out of supernatural creatures and cryptids. Most of that information turned out to be useless though. I did spend a bit of time just sitting on my apartment floor, considering all the terrible life choices that led me to that point. Still, a new job that pays the bill is much better than being eaten by your first date.